Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's MLS Fantasy Insider episode. So we got a few people in chat right now. For those of you who are here with us, we will do the thing.
Need Discord socials too.
Where's the button? More record is not like a main button now. Oh, come on, Zoom. You just
Oh no.
updated. It's
Yeah,
like
I
it's
see it.
underneath the. Well, for me, I just updated, so now I have the whole thing at the bottom. Then it's like more record. I'm like,
Oh,
no,
wow.
why is it? But for you people,
Recording in progress.
there it is. There is the record button for all of the good people. Pause for me momentarily as I get the social set up. Of course, it is out on Twitter. So if you are Twitter X, so if you are so kind and so inclined, please do consider retweeting that, liking and retweeting that, so we can help get the word out about the MLS Fantasy Insider. Even though we're nearing the end of the season, I guess we're about solidly in the last third. Would you say, Tyler?
Uh, Easily the last third.
Easily
How
the
many weeks?
last third.
Although this is our last week before a big break.
That's good. That's good
Yeah,
stuff.
8 weeks left after this week. Wait, yeah.
Is that
So nine
including the
weeks left.
break?
Yes.
Here
We have nine playable weeks of fantasy
we go.
left.
I gotta get on to sending out the swag. I got behind. Let's see here. So, all right, there we go. Out on Twitter, please do send that out. It is now posted on Discord, so everyone should know that we are now live with our show. So, we're gonna try to get through it tonight so that Tyler can get off to his what you said 8:30 thing before
Yeah,
that
got a
weird
family thing
Pacific
at
thing.
8:30.
So we'll get you going there, and we'll make sure everyone's prepared for this double game week that's coming up. If this is the first time you're joining us on YouTube, welcome to the MLS Fantasy community. Thank you for joining us. Please do consider liking and subscribing our content here. It helps so much, helps with the algorithm when you do that. Hit the bell notification if you want to learn more about MLS fantasy tips in these final closing weeks of the season, as Tyler pointed out just a second ago. So we'll be sure to announce that again once the show gets started. But everyone's starting to filter in. Thank you for joining us. We will get this thing started properly now. Hello and welcome to the MLS Fantasy Insider, our preview of round 22 of the 2024 MLS Fantasy season. This episode is not brought to you by the CONMEBOL Planning Committee. Actually, it is brought to you by the amazing MLS Fantasy Patreon supporters for the MLS Fantasy Insider Patreon supporters. Actually, there it is. I guess I was brought to you by CONMEBOL tonight. We'll see. It's because of you that we're able to keep this amazing project going. Thank you so much. To learn more about how to support us through Patreon, visit patreon.com/MLSFI. I'm your host, Reed Connolly from MLSFantasyBoss.com, and tonight I'm joined by, well, my guest, my partner in fantasy, my guest, Tyler Ranchinator Norman from MLS Fantasy Boss and from the Discord community. How you doing there, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Actually, really good fantasy wise, but
Well,
pretty
we'll
good
get into
overall in
that.
general.
We'll get into that in just a moment.
Yeah. You know what? You always ask other people, but how are you doing, Reed?
I'm doing well, thank you. Just got back from a week in Myrtle Beach, so a bit of a vacation, refreshed, ready to go, and just spent the day at work digging out through emails. So I'm good. Thank you. Thank you
Nice.
for asking. I hope everyone who's joining us tonight is also doing well personally. Fantasy, we'll definitely get into that. Ashley cannot be with us here tonight because she had a family thing pop up that happened to her last week as well. So these things happen. We're happy to roll with it. Happy that Tyler's here to be able to jump on to help. Well, I guess one, keep the show going, but two, keep the Seattle contingent represented on the show. So very happy to
Yeah.
have him here. And of course, we hope Ashley's going to be able to be back with us next week. We almost postponed it, but this is another double game week. And so because of that, we wanted to make sure that this content came out to you as quickly as possible. So if that has somehow just been overlooked in your mind, put it right there to the front because this is a double game week round 22. But first, we're going to start with a quick recap of round 21. Tyler, you already said that you were doing well. I didn't particularly care for this round, but I'll let you start first while I check out how everybody in chat did.
Yeah, so I had an 81 point week which was week rank 168, and now I'm up to overall 22, which is by far the highest that I've been at this point in the season. However, even with all of that, I'm a little upset at myself because all week while the game was locked, I'm like, this is the week Montreal gets a clean sheet. This is the week Montreal gets a clean sheet. I'm going to pick Montreal. I never picked a Montreal player. And
Rough.
everybody who knows me knows that's not something that I think. I'm not a Montreal guy. I'm anti-Montreal. But this was one of those few weeks where I'm like, Montreal is going to get a clean sheet this week. Never picked them. However, a person that I did pick is a player who impressed me, which is Facundo Torres. I've been looking at his matchup, like his scores lately, and he's been quietly producing really well lately. And as bad as this sounds coming from a Seattle guy, I think it's because Nicolas Ladero has been on the bench to start the game, which gives Facundo free reign to like roam the field and do what he needs to do. And he is almost worth considering, but there's so many other big name midfielders that it's hard to get him into a conversation for midfielders. However, with the lack of midfielders from last week, I was like, why not take a chance on Facundo? Threw him on my bench, got a 14 out of him, and I was extremely happy about that. Another guy who's been producing very well lately, Brian White.
Mm-hmm.
7 goals in 4 games. That is extremely impressive. And when someone's hot, you have to pick him. Maybe foreshadowing, but he's really hot right now. And the other guy who's really hot right now is Diego Rossi. He's been the Columbus talisman for set pieces, and he's not only getting assists, but he's getting goals too. Like, he's all around the field, and it's quite crazy watching them play with how many people they have producing, which leads into my thoughts. Columbus made a huge statement to all of MLS soccer, proving that they're the best team in the league right now. Yes, I will say that they are the absolute best team in the league right now. And their CCC hangover is done. So the league better watch out because they're coming. I believe they won last year. Or was that 2 years ago they won?
Let's
Was it
go
last
to
year?
let's go to the scarf rack. Columbus won last year and also in 2020.
Yeah, last year. So they're going for the back-to-back, and I believe they can get that. And they also have reinforcements coming with what's his name? I should know this. Campos, something like that. So they have like a reinforcement, Aiden Morris, coming in. My only other thought, as everybody has seen, and we've said this many times, it's really hard to predict clean sheets this year. And both I think actually there were like 3 or 4 chalky picks for clean sheets this last week. None of them got clean sheets. So it just goes to show it's really hard to predict a clean sheet this year.
Absolutely.
How about you, Reed?
I have some similar thoughts to you as well. First, for me, overall, I got a 64, so ouch. It's very similar to what I see a lot of people doing. This was basically not a round for chalk, and unfortunately for me, being on vacation, that's what I did. I set a team that had 2 scrubs with my bench, and I went full auto-roo, left, and didn't look at it until well after, because I was flying during the round, so didn't look at it till well after things were all said and done. So definitely not a great round for chalk, and a 64. I made this joke on Twitter. I'll do it again here. Like, that's just such an FPL score for me. Like, seeing scores like, I'm like, this is MLS. Our scores aren't supposed to be this low. Come on, this is ridiculous. But yeah, no one really came through. My captain didn't really come through. Had a couple of picks that at least did. Oh, and I accidentally got logged out of the game. So these things happen. A couple of, this is whoop, there it was. I guess I went back and forth between between screens too many times. That's what I was trying to get to. I mean, I had the Miles Robinson -1. I at least had Evander on there. Wish I would have capped him. I had Gald on the bench that came in. I had Cucho, got his 9. But I mean, it seemed like everyone from Columbus was scoring this week, and I didn't want them to. I just wanted Cucho to score. They went up full Houston on me, and I didn't like that at all. Some of the other takeaways I'll do, similar to what you had, I'll add that in addition to White, Morris has continued to be scoring as well. I know he's gotten some side eye for being suggested in the past, but he has been fairly consistent for Seattle going through there. Hector Herrera had another strong showing purely based on bonus points. And normally this would be something we'd be excited for, but the consistency has not been there to make him a regular target, nor is this system of the game, the point system of this game, set up for that to be a predictable or a regular occurrence as well. So nice to see that score. Do note it was from bonus points, which have not been coming.
Did he put up, what, 9 bonus points?
It was a whole, I think, an 11 total.
Yeah.
So it was
wild.
no goals, no assists. It was all the underlying bonus points there. And then also, I know I had posted, we brought the chalkboard back last week because of Ashley, so got some good feedback. I'm going to try to do that again. In my chalkboard, I had posted about having a double Houston scrub, which I did not do because, again, I was just setting up auto ruse. And I also had Heel and Veroni on my chalkboard. I ended up moving away from that because Heel did not start, and Veroni did, but I ended up going away from New England completely. Veroni did get a goal, so good.
Yeah, 7,
Good-
but it's
good
better
for
than
him.
a lot of forwards.
It was better than a couple of mine, so that's
Yeah.
fine there. But I wanted to call that out because I know that was the first time we brought back the chalkboard. That is not necessarily a carbon copy of what our teams are. Sometimes we may even fill in more players than are eligible to be in the game, just to show you some general thoughts that we're having. So that's what that is. But I did want to call that out in case people were like, "Hey, you didn't do this." Well, I didn't say I would. It's just another method for us to try to help show you some ideas, some thoughts, and help you whittle down your teams. Yeah, Montreal got the clean sheet, so I was really happy to see that Ben's pick came through, but I don't think that's going to be consistent going forward. I think that was just a good coincidence for them that Tyler was also looking at. And in general, I feel like this past week was a blip. It was bad for Chalk, but I think it was a blip for many of the teams, and that it's not going to be any time to panic or worry. I mean, this is what happens after dealing with multiple double game week congestion with MLS. This is what happens with call-ups, with cards, with injuries, and all that kind of stuff. This is just, unfortunately, what happens with the fantasy schedule that we deal with MLS, that these rounds just come out of nowhere, and just people who are usually pretty consistent just don't. And it happens. So don't panic. That was my main thought from here. Otherwise, it was still fun to see some of the scores, to see some of the results, to see some of the guys who we don't always get to see have their names pop up. They're like Polito, things like that pop up. But don't dig too much into it because we have a big double game week coming on. So a good time to reset and a good time to start thinking about who you're going to be targeting and not focus too much on this week. But yep, going to chat. A lot of people in the same boat. Saw some 80s. Good job, those of you who got in the 80s. Also saw some people in the 60s. I totally feel you. This was a rough. Ooh, Captain Espinoza. Sorry, Ron. Yeah, that was a rough one as well. It happens. It totally happens. But you know what? We will help you bounce back. That's what it's going to be. Tyler's going to have some great input on this episode, and I'll have some good differentials coming up. This is going to be a fun round, which double game weeks are. They are the perfect time to bounce back, and that's exactly what we're going to start talking about in our housekeeping section right after this.
Nice. I don't know why, but that felt like one of the smoothest intros, like opening segments that you've ever done.
Even when I chopped through, I was like, I butchered the intro. But
yeah, but like overall, it felt very smooth compared to other times.
Hey, we good. Ready to go. I said a week off, refreshed, ready to go.
Yeah.
Going right there. Get to mention I got the league information to put here, so we got you covered there. So, all right, let me get the socially stuff coming out here. The Twitter X's. Boink, boink. There it is. And retweet that one. Let me get rid of the pin tweet while I'm here. That'll probably be good to do. Okay, got that. Don't have anything to change for the graphic. All right, fantastic. Hello and welcome back to our housekeeping section for round 22 of the fantasy season. Starting out very quickly, going to go through the leagues that we have, starting with the MLS Fantasy Boss Pro Rel system of leagues. Champions League, we have still at the top throwing in the Cowl with a record of 16-0-5. Down the Veterans League, our very own Tyler with the Moran Don't with a record of 17-0-4, one of the better records in the whole system. Going down to the Homegrown League, Ashley has been dethroned, and we now have Old Deefy with a record of 17-0-4, leading the way.
Name.
It's pretty good. It's not my favorite name. My favorite name is in the Patreon head-to-head, so we'll get there. Then Discovery League, we still have Trust Your Gut with a record of 18-0-3, leading the way. Over in the MLS Fantasy Boss Network of Leagues, we have the Discord head-to-head league with a three-way tie. So we've gotten back to a tie this late in the season between three teams with a record of 18-0-3, but it is our very own Wojo, boy named Sue, who is winning by points in that league. Down to the Patreon head-to-head, my favorite team name of the entire season, and that is Agata Walter My Rosarios. The record of 17-1-3. It's top-notch name. I love it. And then finally, down to the MLS Fantasy Insider Experts Invitational. I took a big L this round, so the gap between myself and Skylar, Draft Kicks, is widened. I am still coming in at number 2, and Skylar is there 18-1-2, leading the league right there. Now, to point out, with lots of our head-to-head leagues, we do have playoff systems, so the Supporter Shield winner may not go on to take the final cup. So we'll see what happens in our leagues right here. The Pro Rel, though, those are all. That's on my table.
So I just got to stay up top. I'm at 4th in that.
Dude, when you do the playoffs with the Pro Rel, it just gets messy. So it's just straight up table. That's what it is. Straight up table right there.
I'm in 4th in the Expert Invitational. I'm right behind you guys.
Yeah, you're in there. You're in there. Top 3 get prizes. Unless it's me, then we'll do something else. So. Okay, so let's move on now to talk about the nuts and bolts of round 22, which I know is why everyone is tuning in right now. So, as I said, double game week starts Wednesday, July 17th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with a bunch of teams. Please do note we have a bunch of 7:30 teams starting. There is no 9:30 game on Wednesday, but there are 5 10:30 games on Wednesday. So there are plenty of opportunities for you to have switcheroos coming into this round, but there is no 9:30 game. So just be aware of that. Everything else kicks off on Saturday for the second round of games. The usual MLS Apple TV lineup there, 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, 10:30. But let's face it, by this time, we're all locked in anyway. So that's just how it is coming out. Champions League, this is the final quarter qualifier round, ends on round 24. So you still have 3 rounds left to get your points in there. So you are not out of it yet to be in the top 50 for the quarter qualifier before we go down to the top 200 player just punch out right there. Mike Tyson's punch out kind of situation. So yeah, I know where that came from. It's like Royal Rumble's punch out, all kinds of things.
That
Royal
came
Rumble
from a deep memory.
It did. It came from a deep memory. So I should have gone with the Royal Rumble because I've been playing Wrestling Quest, so that should have been more forward on my mind. Anyway, double game week. Here is how everything is broken down. You can find this information over at our Discord in the main MLS channel pinned to the top. But if you're not able to go to there just yet, double home teams. We have Atlanta, LA Galaxy, Miami, Minnesota, New York Red Bull, Philadelphia, Seattle, and Vancouver. Double away teams. We have Charlotte, Chicago, Houston, New York City FC, Real Salt Lake, St. Louis, and Toronto. For teams that are splitting home then away, we have Cincinnati, Columbus, Dallas, LAFC, Nashville, and San Jose. And then teams who are splitting away and then home, mix it up a little bit on you this week. We have Austin, Colorado, Sporting Kansas City, Montreal, New England, and Orlando. There are no teams with a bye, but we do have two teams who are on a single game week, and those are DC United and Portland. Both DC playing on the Wednesday and Portland playing on the Saturday. So if you're looking for any kind of auto-roo or switcheroo or just scrub targets right there, Portland will be the last team to play if you want to use those players. Or even better, the advice is head over to the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord, go to the Fantasy Tools section, and check out the Mega Reference where we have a list of safe scrubs, like someone like Barrial from Cincinnati. He's not here anymore, but he's still in the game, guaranteed not to play. So players like that who you can find and add to your team, and you are just going to be safe no matter what happens with your team there. So, as I said, nobody on a bye, but lots of shenanigans happened last week, not just in Copa America, but also in MLS that are going to impact players who are returning, who are injured, and who are on warnings. And we have Tyler himself here with us tonight to take us through the injury report that you have curated.
Yeah, and before I do that, I also would like to note that DC is a Wednesday single game, where Portland is a Saturday single game. So if you're looking for a late, scrub candidate, Portland is the best. But be very careful with their defense, because they have almost everybody on their defense available. For our report, we have more suspensions than anything else on the list. So a lot of people are going to be missing some games. Let's start with that. First off, we have Gregerson for Atlanta. He got a red card, and he is going to be out for the midweek game. Brendan Heinzeit got a red card. Marino Hinostroza got a red card. Jesus Murillo and Sergio Palencia for LAFC both got reds. That's very impactful for the defense. Weigand and Sergio Busquets both are suspended for the first midweek game, which might scare some people off of their defense. We have Miles Robinson picked up a Dogso red, which is why he has a -1. Part of the reason why. James Sands picked up a yellow card and is suspended for accumulation. Carlos Andreas Gomez picked up a yellow, and he's suspended for yellow card accumulation. And then just a few hours ago, before we went live, it was announced that Chicho Arango will be suspended for 4 games due to breaking breaking the harassment policy. Is that what it was?
I think so.
Thinks that's what it was. So he's going to be out this entire DGW. He'll be out for the All-Star game, and then he'll be out for 1 game following that, I believe.
One thing I do want to mention about Miles Robinson, just as a clarifier, pay attention to when he leaves for the Olympics.
He's suspended.
If he leaves before the game, he'll have to serve his suspension the next game.
Oh, true.
So
right.
Pay attention to when he is officially leaving,
okay,
because that will depend on which game he actually has to sit out.
Yes. Yeah, so that could be pretty impactful. Some injuries to note. We have one that came in yesterday. Lionel Messi picked up an ankle injury in the Copa Finals, and it looks really bad. He probably is going to be out for a couple games. He probably won't make any games this week, but luckily they have a decent break for the All-Star break. Lucho Acosta did come off with a foot injury. Did you see how bad that was?
I didn't see. No, I didn't see how bad it was. I know they're saying that Noonan's saying that he's optimistic that he'll play next week, and he's been confirmed for the All-Star game.
Okay, so he should be available, maybe on a minute limit, possibly. Andreas Perea for NYCFC came off injured, and then Danny Rosero came off injured. For names to watch for the DGW because they are on yellow card watch. We have quite a few big names, and I did confirm after going back that someone that I had on here is not actually yellow card, so I removed him. Lucho Acosta is on yellow card watch, so he has a possible injury and he's on yellow card watch, possible fade. As much as I love Lucho, and he is really close to MVP right now. Ricky Pooch is on yellow card watch. I know he is on a lot of teams. Be careful with that. The backup 10, I guess you could say, or Ashano is on yellow card watch too. Both of the Italians for TFC are on yellow card watch, Bernardeschi and Insigne. Santi Rodriguez is on watch, and Brian White is on watch. And I could make an argument to have just about any of those players on my team this week. I also would like to point out that the Olympics are starting, and there's quite a few people that are going to be out for those. We have Leo Labata, Boxall, Kramashi, Diego Gomez, Duncan McGuire, Jack McGlynn, Nathan Harriel, Mihailovic, Miles Robb, as you said, but it depends on when he leaves. Patrick Schulte, John Tolkien, and Walker Zimmerman. On top of that, they have some alternates that traveled with them too that are going to be out. They have Josh Atencio, Jake Davis, John Pulskamp, and Federico Redondo, who are with them for that.
All right.
That is all I got.
Thank you so much for getting that together. And yes, this is just part of the crazy. Keep an eye on those lineups. Keep an eye on those call-ups, and we will see where we all end up as we head into round 22. But of course, what's really going to matter is which players are we targeting, which players who you might want to consider targeting as you are preparing for your Wednesday lineup. And we're going to talk about that right after this. See here. It seems like we're going to Nigeria to get some backup at defense for Cincinnati. So,
to answer the question in chat, yes, I am sure that he's on yellow card watch. I checked with the article that someone asked if Ricky Pooch is on yellow card watch for sure. I double checked, triple checked. I had it questionable at first, but MLS actually themselves said that he's on watch. So I'm going to trust that for now.
Trust but verify.
Yes. And I see what they were saying because I was also questionable about it or questioning it. But the 5-game span to take off a yellow was after he already served his first suspension. So I don't think that it impacted anything.
All right. Social is out for our final round. Please do retweet that. Helps so much. I'm really excited for this one. So I think we've got some good things to talk about, even though it's kind of chalky, but we'll see. We'll see. All right. Welcome back to our final segment, talking about the players who we are targeting going into double game week round 22. I'm excited about this one. It's a big double game week, lots of stuff going on. So looking forward to this. Starting as always with keepers and defenders. Tyler, who are you looking at?
Yeah, so I'm currently on a little bit of a keeperoo. I have Coronel at the start, and I'm keeperooing into Lloris, which I'm starting to double or second guess after talking about who was suspended with Jesus Murillo and Valencia. But my reasoning for that was also because Arango and Carlos Andres Gomez are out, which are pretty much the two most impactful players for RSL. So I was like, oh, easy, grab Lloris. So I might reconsider that. I'm also thinking that it could be a Miami week.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure yet. So my Coronel could turn into calendar. I'm kind of going back and forth on it. That's probably going to be a lineup decision for me. For my defenders, I'm going with as much as we say not to do this, I'm going with 3 guys that are just bonus point producers, not looking for clean sheets at all. And just assist guys. So I have Gressel, who's on, I think, a 6-game streak of getting an assist or a goal.
Yep.
I'm going with Jordi Alba or I'm doubling up, with Jordi Alba because I love the Miami chances, and Alba is so good. Like he's worth it. And I also have Kai Wagner this week after fading him last week, which I actually didn't feel that bad about fading. But the double home to New England and Nashville, I feel like he's gonna cook. Give that boy something to cook with. I don't have too many backups. I don't like a lot of the matchups for defense. Aside from that, Columbus, I think, will get scored on because 1, they don't have Schulte, and 2, I guess Atlanta is a really good matchup for them. But the Charlotte matchup, Westwood has looked really good.
Don't even talk to me about Charlotte.
And then the other team I looked at was LA Galaxy, but I would like to have a fallback that's not Galaxy. Mostly looking at them because of that Colorado game. But I also this season have been on this thing of don't bet for or against Colorado and Portland. And guess who LA is playing? Colorado and Portland. So I really shouldn't do it. Yeah. So that's pretty much where I'm at. I'm also slightly considering Vancouver, but I'm not comfortable with that.
I can rant about that. Don't worry. But before we get there, I really like that Miami shout out. I wasn't quite all in with that, but I like that approach with this round. Ashley did send over some picks for us. What she's looking at, she's going with what will probably be the chalk keeperoo this round, and that is Coronel to Fry. Of course, Coronel on the bench, Fry starting, going from there, and then she has a pretty chalky second lineup as well. Reagan, Farsi from Columbus, Alba, and then 2 scrubs is what she's looking at. I'm really thinking hard about that Miami pick right now. I was first going with Coronel and Fry. Fry is who I had. I think Fry is hands down the best second leg of your keeperoo this round. I don't like Lloris because, let me compare. Vancouver and Lloris are 2 people who I've seen. So Takayoka and Lloris are 2 players I've seen often in some teams today, and everyone knows my struggles with Vancouver, but between the 2 of them, they have had 1 clean sheet in the last 5 games between both of those teams. Even longer for Vancouver. Lloris has a couple more back, maybe 7 games back he's got 1. They've not had a good record at keeping clean sheets, and that's really all we're going for right now. And so for me, Fry is on a run of 2 clean sheets in a row. Seattle is in the top quarter of teams at not allowing shots this season. So I feel like they've got a pretty good chance, if you're looking at just those 10-30 people, of not going. LA Galaxy bumps out for me because mostly LA has been the worst team at not allowing shots. They have allowed almost 400 shots this year, which has them, so LA has allowed 391 total shots as of last game week. Second is Austin, who has allowed 369 shots. So they've been allowing the shots. That's what's been going on. And of course, when they're allowing the shots, that's just more chances for for something to happen. And both Colorado and Portland are kind of in the middle of teams that are generating shots. So they've got the ability right there. They're both kind of in that middle third of teams with shots generated. So a decent chance I see a decent chance of them not allowing. So that's what makes me lean towards Fry as the back end of the keeperoo. The front end, I'm looking at Coronel first because Montreal has struggled to get shots. They've had a few games where they've had a lot of goals, but mostly they've just not been generating a lot of shots this year. And New York Red Bulls have been one of the best teams at not allowing shots. The only team who's better is the Crew. And had they had a better matchup, I might have been tempted to the Crew, but not having Schulte is a big hurt for them.
So
right there.
let me ask you this: are you picking your goalies based off the Wednesday games? Or are you looking at both matchups?
I'm trying to look at both matchups, but I'm also heavily favoring the double
Yeah.
home teams as well.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking about with why I'm against Seattle this week. They're definitely gonna concede against LAFC. And I like this
Sure.
St. Louis matchup. Don't get me wrong, I like that matchup, but I don't see the clean sheet against LAFC, which is why I don't want them. But I can see your arguments for just about everybody else. And that's also why I'm more considering towards calendar, because Toronto and Chicago are not very good on the road.
Well, yeah, and calendar. I mean, for me, the calendar pick is more that front end. So it's like calendar, or are you going with Coronel, or are you going with? Actually, that's pretty much it. I consider really on the front end. I have questions about anybody else right there. I mean, no, we'll get to that for the defense in a second. But yeah, I would think one of those two are going to be your best bet right there. I'm not sold on Philly's defense, and so I'd be wary of them, even though they've probably got a pretty decent. They have a good matchup for the home with Nashville and New England being there. I just struggle to have a lot of faith.
I would like to point out
in
that
Chiefs.
Andre Blake is likely back, is one thing. And then the second is Philly has last game, which was their clean sheet game, they moved back to a 3 at the back setup, where
Okay.
before they did it,
Okay.
or 3 center backs. Before that, they were running 2 center backs while Lowe was gone.
No, that's good. I didn't watch that, so that's good information. But so that's where I'm on right now. I really like the calendar shout out because that those matchups I do like, especially the Chicago one on the back end. So I do like that show right there. For defense, as usual for me, just kind of copy and paste. I'm looking at New York Red Bulls and Seattle right now since that's the current keeperoo that I have set up. I'm also looking at it was originally Gressel or Alba, but I do like maybe just running with both of them right there because they're great attacking options right there. I mean, Columbus has probably one of the better home away splits with their game. The first one being maybe the easiest of the two. I mean, being on the road there to Atlanta. I don't know. Atlanta's kind of in a weird spot. I'm having trouble really getting a feel for Atlanta right now, but they're on the road. I do always worry missing your starting keeper. I do always worry. But one of the better home away splits. Potentially going with Wagner because of that New England Nashville. They've been struggling to score. And I'll give an honorable mention to Charlotte right here. They are double away, starting off to Columbus, which will be a very tough game for them, and then Austin, much easier game for them. They're one of the best defenses in the league right now, but that's like a far and away. I mean, we're all talking about maybe 2 defensive scrubs right here, so I think you have better options. But I'll throw out an honorable mention to Charlotte that if you're someone who's like, I really feel like I'm going to go with one of these guys, I understand, but you're probably 100% looking at that Saturday game to really hope that something happens for you right there.
For sure.
Right. So, yeah, most of them just matching keepers, and we're going for there. So, but we'll see. We'll see a lot of fairly chalky. I think this is maybe one of the chalkiest sections that we'll see for defense this week because it's just so out there in the scoring system. Let's move on to midfielders. I'll start out with Ashley's information right here. Again, several of these players I think are going to be fairly chalky, but I do think there are more options here. She's got Gald, Rusnak, Bogusz, Push, and Acosta as her 5 right there. A couple of those guys I would absolutely be looking at as bench plays, depending how you're set up. But Tyler, who are you looking at?
Yeah, I have Bogusz. Absolutely love his production, and even though he scored a 3 last week, I'm still on him. Gald, who I had last week, and he has 2 phenomenal matchups this week. I'm actually no, we're not in that section yet. Gald was the first guy on my team. Let's just leave it at that.
Me too.
I'm on Rusnak. Like I said, I love the Seattle matchups, just not defensively for me. I still have Pooch, even though he's on yellow card watch. He's gonna ride my bench. And I'm currently on Lucho, but I don't like it, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So my Lucho will likely become a different player by Wednesday. I'm waffling between quite a few players actually. My first is Lewis Morgan. They have some great matchups. Montreal at home and Cincy at home, and I'm sorry, but Cincy is really poor defensively right now. And without Miles Rob too, they're gonna struggle. So I'm pretty heavily debating Morgan as my top guy there. I also like the idea of Robin Lode because Minnesota has some pretty pretty good matchups, and Lode is usually the producer there. But my main person that I'm leaning towards is actually Eric Tommy.
Oh.
Yeah, he has, I think it's double road still, right? No, road home. So he's on the road to Vancouver, which you yourself pointed out.
Yep.
Vancouver's maybe not the best defensively.
Correct.
And SKC does score goals. Do they score a lot? No. Do they score? Yes. And Tommy's usually involved if they score goals. And then on the weekend, they have the nicest rivalry going, or whatever it's called, against St. Louis. So, rivalry games, people are going to wake up for rivalry games. And that one makes the most sense to me. For my other one that I'm just kind of like throwing out a name for a possible differential, NYCFC, they have some not terrible matchups, but they are double road. Atlanta and Orlando are both pretty bad defensively. If you want one of them, I would suggest Hannes Wolf over Santi Rod simply because Santi's on yellow watch. But I just wanted to throw that out there that people that are looking for like a differential play to gain ranks in the standings, that's possible play there. What do you have?
So for me, I think there are 2 chalks that we've both covered, and that's Gald and Bogusz. I think those are just easy go-to. Gald was the first player on my team as well. Love the form, love the matchups, and Bogusz, I think, is just a blip for them with that Columbus game. Has been very solid for LAFC. After that, I'm highly inclined to look at Pooch for bubble chalk player, bubble absolute player, because of just the quality he has had. He's been coming back into form, and 2 home games is something that I find very appealing for him, especially since you never know what's going to happen with Colorado. I get that you don't bet against them, and you also don't know what's going to happen with Portland, but home for LA Galaxy has been a good good result for Pooch, and so I do feel like he's right there on that bubble, but you want to really consider if you have him on your bench or on your field, though, because of the yellow card accumulation that's right there. After that, next tier, I like Rusnak. That's probably too harsh. I probably put Rusnak right there on the bubble as well because I have liked him, but Rusnak and Morgan I think are really good options to come in for your line that you were talking about. I want to look more at Gazdag over this next couple of days. He's not been on some great form as of late, but
he was at the Euros.
He was at the Euros, but great matchups for them. So I think this could be a good opportunity for him. I want to check him out. May not land on him, but I do think that's one that I wanted to mention. I've seen some people who also have Lod in their team with one of their picks, and I'm just not convinced by his form or by Minnesota's form. If that's, I mean, I much
I
would
think
rather go with Tommy.
I think it's less form for those people and more matchups because it's double home to DC and San Jose, which are both really poor
I
defenses.
get it. I get it. If he can produce, if they can produce. I
Yeah,
know Christian's
definitely.
been continuously down on them being able to do that. So, but I get it. I get why they might be there. I too am on the fence with Acosta, and he is currently not in my team right now. And it's like I'm just on the fence because in one hand, it's Acosta, and he is right there for MVP. He has great form. He's one you can usually 9 times out of 10 always count on having something happened. And it's against Chicago as their first game. And while I do worry greatly about the defense, and if defense is not able to withstand the pressure that impacting the offense, I feel good about a game against Chicago.
Oh yeah.
However, on the other end, especially Chicago have allowed 40 goals in over their 23 games. So I mean, they're a defense that concedes as well. But on the other hand, we are struggling with defense. We're going to Nigeria to bring up some backup CB coverage. We have Acosta can easily get a yellow card in this game because he gets chippy. So I mean, he may not even be there for the next game. And then that I don't know if one game Acosta is even worth it. So if you have Acosta, he has to be on your bench. And I had him on my bench last week because I was a little worried about some of that matchup. I ended up getting him because of everybody else. But
I captained him.
well, there you go. But I could absolutely see this round being, you know what? I'm going to fade Acosta. I think I've got some players who have the potential on a DGW to do equally as well. He picked up a little bit of a knock. We've got the All-Star game coming up. Maybe get some minutes managed. We'll see what happens right there with this one. So, but I get it. I totally get it right there. Looking over at chat real quick. I'm not seeing anybody else that's really been suggested. These are fairly short list of players right there. I mean, some of the normal go tos like Evander, he's on a single, so it's not going to be a guy that you're going to want to look
Haney
at.
Haney was brought up. That's I mean,
I'm
sure
just
he has good matchups, but I don't trust him this year.
yeah,
He's
not
not
at
his
all,
MVP self.
not at all, right there. So we'll see. Well, let's move on to our forward section. I said defense might be the chalkiest. This one might be more chalky. So we'll see. Tyler, who are you on?
So I'm on Heck because his his home form is absolutely phenomenal. Probably the best home form you'll find out of anybody in the game right now. I am also on Bouanga because RSL is weak and Bouanga is a pretty good player. And can you really not have Cucho? Cucho is the Messi right now while Messi is out, in my opinion. You have to have Cucho on your team. However, there are some forwards that I think are good bubble forwards. Luis Suarez is one of those that I think like if there's a good enough team around him, Suarez is going to be a great play. And you can see so in the matchups. Toronto and Chicago are both really weak defensively. And Suarez could really be good. White, Brian White, his form is great. As I said at the beginning, 7 goals in 4 games. Can he keep producing? Possibly. At double home game, he most definitely can score at least 1. And then my other one that I would say like is a very reasonable pick. Like I could name the whole list, but very reasonable pick for the same reasons as having Cucho. Diego Rossi has been producing a lot, and he was another one I stated at the beginning. He very well could put up another really good score. And if you look at the last DGW, everyone had Cucho, but Rossi was the play because he was the one that did everything in the DGW. I don't know, just something to think about. Like Cucho is by far like don't fade Cucho. But
So who's your
Rossi's
bubble? Of the three, you get is Peck your bubble that you're gonna have these guys compete against? Then
no, Bawonga's actually my bubble.
Bawonga's your bubble. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my question. Who is that guy who is competing for everything then? So
and he's actually the one on my bench too. Like I don't trust him at all right now.
Fair. I don't have him right now for some similar reasons. But before I get to me, we'll talk about Ashley. And Ashley has the very similar team, Peck, Cucho, Bawonga. So she's right there with you. I have Cucho. I have Peck for the same reasons that you were talking about. I have White right now, though, as my third player. I totally get Bawonga as the bubble. I was leaning towards White just because of his excellent form and those matchups. I get what you're saying, though. You can pretty much copy and paste the same thing you just said about Cucho. Suarez, I think, is a great tip to have. See where he starts, watch his minutes, but also watch his impact on the rest of the Miami formation, because one of the reasons that Gressel has been so appealing to us right now in some of his productions because he's been playing OOP at forward. If Suarez is back into the mix, does that mean he pushes back? And if he pushes back, I fall back into not wanting Gressel at all because he was not producing when he was back in that low-lying position. So could change up your lineup when you see. Fortunately, they play early, so you can switch that up and see where you're going to go. But I think Suarez is a great one. I'm going to throw out Musa as well. Dallas is starting double home game, starting out against Austin, and then finishing up the round. Home away, and then finishing up the round away at New England. And New England's not been super solid, so Austin's pretty much the worst team in the league. So yeah, one of them. They got competition for the wooden spoon right there. So Musa's on, I think, a 3-game run of getting a goal every game. So I think we're talking about some bubble players who are on form with some promising, or at least some...
I'm just nervous. I don't know what happened last game, but he was a halftime sub.
Yeah, that's happened. This is why we're talking bubble people, and this is why they're not immediate people.
You know what? Let me throw one out too.
Yeah,
Rioni for New England. Okay. That guy's been doing really well too, even without Keo, which is kind of odd.
Yep.
But he's on a tear, and they have they're at Philly, who's been pretty poor defensively, and then they're hosting Dallas. That Dallas game could honestly be a shootout if Paz actually is gone.
Yeah, no, it very well could. I mean, that could be a game that has goals on both sides. Like, I'm not looking at Dallas or New England defense at all for this round. So, I mean, but there's some potential for goals on both sides there. So, I just wanted to, I don't know if I'm going to go with him, but I get the logic. And if someone is trying to break into the Champions League area, trying to find an edge with their head-to-heads, like, these are guys I think we can make legitimate reasons for why they might get a spot in your double game week team when players are missing, when injuries are a factor, when rotations are coming. I mean, these are all factors there, and so it's not just the same old chalk. Like I think these are some legitimate conversations we can have, so they're worth talking about.
Definitely.
Right. Checking chat real quick. White Cucho, got a Musa from Pancake, so yeah, we're on the same wavelength right there as well. Ramirez, I saw that. I saw one team, I forget which channel I was in on Discord, but one team had their forwards as Cucho, Rossi, and Ramirez. It was like right there.
I thought that was a troll pick.
Maybe it was. I don't remember where I saw it. I was just scrolling through and I was like, wait, what? Because that's what I do. I try to get an idea of where people are falling to know who to talk about during the show. And I was like, I don't know about that, but so I've seen some things right now. But all right, let's
also for everyone on White, remember that he's on yellow card watch, so he's more of a bench play.
That could give way to some of the other bubble players that you're talking about, who are a bit more of a safe option than he is. So we can go and see. All right, let's wrap everything up on our captain picks. Tyler, who are you looking at?
So I'm currently on Cucho, and I think that most people will be, but I'm heavily debating putting it on either Gald or Peck. I love both Gald and Peck's matchups, And although I'm at overall 22, I want to get higher. And I feel like the best way to get higher in rank is to find some sort of way to differentiate. And that feels like my play this week, with it being a somewhat chalky week. Oh
No,
no.
I like it. So Ashley's on Cucho, and I'm also on Cucho, and I think we're all on him because of just the prolific goal scorer that he has, and a pretty good matchup of games that he has, even though they're not double home. If not Cucho, then who?
Yeah.
And I like your gold comment about looking at, because early in the year we were talking about how I can't believe it, I'm captaining a forward. This is so crazy, but forwards have just been doing so well. That was true. But in the past several weeks, attacking midfielders have reclaimed sort of their dominant spot as the go-to captains. We've still had some forwards sneak in, but over the past 10-ish rounds, I was looking at this earlier in the day and I can't remember, but over the past 10 rounds, maybe 2 or 3 rounds have had a forward be the dream team captain, and everybody else has been an attacking midfielder. So
you got your Evanders, your Luchas, your Pooches.
It shifted much more back over to the midfield spot. So I get Cucho, but I don't think we need to be sleeping on some of these attacking midfielders this week as well, especially with it being a big double with like Gull or Bogush or Rusnak or someone being potentially in the mix as a viable captain option for the round. So look forward to seeing where people end up landing. So we'll see. All right, well, that's all that we have for the show tonight. Again, big double game week, so make sure you get your team set for Wednesday. We're going to wrap up, as we do always, with our plugs. Tyler.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same plug as I did last time I was on. Overall rank 1, the Priest in Discord, has now extended his lead by 37 points.
That's huge.
Especially this late in the season. He's, if anybody doesn't know, he's like my best friend in real life. We've known each other for 20 plus years, so that's why I'm giving him a big shout out for that.
That's a worthwhile shout out. No plugs from Ashley, but of course from me, I'll plug the usual. Check out MLSFantasyBoss.com for all of the content that we have coming out, bringing back the bringing back the chalkboard by popular demand. So we'll try to get that out there more. Of course, we'll have Tyler Team Ranchinator's differential articles, as well as the Discord player poll. Christian has posted that, so be sure to go in and vote in the player poll. Got some feedback about why we have to put Discord names on there, and it was to try to help prevent people from posting multiple times. People don't seem to think that's needed, so I'm going to give that to Christian, and we'll see what happens. But we do not look at your feedback. Well, I mean, I look at the answers. I don't look. I mean, I post them, so I'm clearly looking at something.
Yeah.
I post the aggregate feedback. I don't look at who is voting which ways. That was just part of what we were trying to do to make sure that we were keeping it fair to people, not just flood the votes. But please go in and vote. It's just sort of our version of what Skylar does for MLS with our rankings. Fun to see where our community is seeing the players versus others, and I think it's helpful for people when they're looking at that for their decisions as well. I know I saw some talk last week about why not Cucho on isn't in here, so it was some fun stuff. So please go vote for that and just check out all the content. Go to Discord if you have not already, and join at MLSFantasyBoss.com/Discord. The easiest way to do that. It's fun, it's friendly, and it's a great community to be a part of. So I hope that has been helpful for you to get ready for this double game week. And if not, there's more articles and content to come. So as always, good luck.